Hey, what is up, folks? Zerofats here, coming at you on behalf of adventuresontheriver.com. Got a bunch of crap to talk to you about today. But it all kind of centers around this idea that people fail to execute because they want things to be perfect. They want things to be just right. And I do understand that. I understand, you want things to be just right before you execute, before you act on something, before you take action per se. But I do understand that, and it's a very real thing that happens. You want things to be just right. And what ends up happening is you fail to act, period. Years go by, because you think, well, I do this, but this isn't right, or I do this, but this isn't right. And then what happens is you kind of put it on the back burner, and you just move on to the next thing. You move on to the next thing, and usually the next thing is your 9-to-5 job, or just your day-to-day errands that you have to run, or things you have to take care of. So that's fine. Put that on the side there. Put that over here in the one hand, and keep that in mind. Now I want to give you this quote really quick. Now I'm a sports fan. Okay, so all you guys out there might not like sports. I like sports. I grew up watching sports. I'm a big sports fan. My father was a sports fan. His father was a sports fan. It's in my DNA to like sports. I know some people don't, but I do. So I want to give you a quote. This is by a coach, famous coach, Vince Lombardi. You probably have heard of him. Even if you don't like sports, you probably have heard that name. But this is a quote, and I think it's a profound quote. And if you like sports, by the way, man, check out some of the books about Vince Lombardi, because he had an amazing life. It was really something, and it's definitely worth the read, especially if you're trying to learn more about management and you're trying to learn more about leadership and just things of that nature, which I think the idea of leadership is important for people who want to succeed independently on their own as an entrepreneur. But anyways, Vince Lombardi had this quote, right? And the quote was this: "Gentlemen, we will chase perfection, and we will chase it relentlessly, knowing all the while we can never attain it. But along the way, we shall catch excellence." Now, I love that quote by Vince Lombardi. He's basically saying we're going to chase perfection. We know we're not going to attain perfection, but by chasing it, we're going to attain excellence. I love that quote because, Vince Lombardi, when he said that, he was already actively pursuing something. He was pursuing a goal when he said that. He's pursuing it. So, think about that. When you have a goal in your mind and this is something you'd like to do, or you have a vague notion in your mind of what you'd like to do, but you're not pursuing it because the timing's wrong, or it doesn't make sense to take action right now for you, or for whatever reason. Remember, your mind will make obstacles to keep you in your comfort zone. Your mind is trying to stay safe. At the base of it, we're animals, and your mind is going to use its instinct to try to keep you safe. And your safety is in your comfort zone. Okay? Doing something that you're not used to doing is not in your comfort zone. Your mind's going to try to create obstacles to keep you from doing it. The idea of perfection is one of those obstacles, right? The idea that you can't start this because you don't have this, or you don't have that, or this isn't right, or that's not right. That is an obstacle your mind's creating. Chase perfection. By all means, chase it. When I started adventuresontheriver.com, it wasn't perfect. I'd never created a membership site before in my life. I've never done that before. And it wasn't perfect when it started. It's still not perfect. My members are awesome. My members tell me if something's not working. Hey, I can't seem to get this video to work, or hey, how do I do this? Or hey, this doesn't seem to be working, whatever. It doesn't happen very often. I got pretty much all the bugs worked out of it. But from time to time, my members will still say something to me about, hey, I can't seem to get this to work. And then I'll go in and I'll tweak it and I'll get it fixed for them. it wasn't perfect when I started it, but I chased perfection with it. I chased perfection. I want it to be this perfect thing that can help people attain success, so it's interesting. So remember that, okay? So hold that to the side here for a second. Now, there's this guy, Brian Tracy, right? Brian Tracy, he's an author, he's a motivational speaker, he's wrote a ton of books. I'm not going to go into everything he's done. You can Google Brian Tracy and find some of the books he's wrote and read them for yourself. Brian Tracy had this idea, the golden hour, right? Now listen, first of all, let me just say, I don't agree with everything Brian Tracy says. But I'm pretty well read. I've read some of his books. I read a lot, you guys. I got a recommended read section on this site. I read a lot. I think it's important to read, especially when you're trying to better yourself. It's important to read and study these other people who have been successful. I don't agree with everything Brian Tracy says, but he's got some interesting points. And he's been successful, and you can't ignore success. So, Brian Tracy, right? The golden hour. The golden hour is the rudder of the day. When you begin to arise early and invest the first hour in yourself, you will be amazed at the difference in the way you feel and in the results you will get. You will gradually transform your thinking about yourself and what is possible for you. You will become a money magnet and begin to improve on your personal development and achieve success in all levels. I think that's a pretty cool idea. That's a pretty cool concept. When you awaken, give that first hour of the day to yourself. I like it. He wrote this thing called the 21-day mental diet. And this is pretty quick, so I want to go into it really fast for you. It's the 21-day mental diet by Brian Tracy. Okay, so it's 7 steps. This 21-day mental diet, it's 7 steps. You're supposed to do this for 21 days, right? So for 21 days, here you go. Starting tomorrow, arise each morning at least 2 hours before you have to be somewhere and invest the first golden hour in yourself and in your mind. If you exercise physically each morning, do this before you begin to exercise mentally. Okay, that's step 1. Step 2, before you turn on the television, radio, or read the newspaper, take 30 to 60 minutes and read something motivational, inspirational, or educational. Be sure that the first thing you put into your mind in the morning is positive, healthy, and consistent with the kind of life you want to lead. That's step 2. Okay, step 3. After you have completed your morning reading, take a spiral notebook and write out your top 10 to 15 goals in the present tense, exactly as if you had already achieved them. Write goals such as, I earn $100,000 a year. I weigh 165 pounds and am superbly fit. I drive a brand new gray BMW. I live in a beautiful 3,500 square foot home, and so on. Rewrite your list of goals every morning without referring back to the goals you wrote the day before. This is a very important success factor for you to practice in order to achieve your goals. Now that one right there, that was kind of profound to me when I read it. I thought that was a really awesome method. Step 4. Plan every day in advance. After you have rewritten your goals, make a list of everything you have to do that day and then organize the list by priority, value, and importance. Alright. Step 5. Begin immediately to work on your most valuable and important task before you do anything else. Resolve to focus single-mindedly on that one task until it is complete. When you start and finish your major task first thing in the morning during the golden hour, you will experience a surge of energy, elation, and confidence that will propel you into your other tasks and to dramatically increase your overall productivity for the rest of the day. I think he's kind of saying, I think Brian Tracy's kind of saying there, set the tone. Set the tone in the morning for the rest of your day. And I got to tell you, I think that really works. Okay, 6. Listen to educational audio programs as you drive around. Leave the radio off. Continually feed your mind with high-quality mental nutrition that uplifts and inspires you to do your best. This is a great way to improve your personal development throughout your entire life. Okay, step 7. This is the final step. Okay, finally develop a sense of urgency. Pick up the pace. Move quickly from one task to the other. Don't waste time. The faster you move, the more you will have. The more energy you will have, sorry. The faster you move, the more energy, the faster you move, the more you will get done and the better you will feel. The faster you move, the more in control of your life you will feel, and the more you will like and respect yourself. Okay, so that's the 21-day mental diet. I'll put a link to that in the description in case you guys want to click on that and go read it for yourself, print it out, whatever. You're supposed to practice this for 21 days, and at the end of the 21 days, you're supposed to see dramatic results and improvement in your life. You're supposed to be able to transcend your current position a little bit. That's the idea. You know, so that's Brian Tracy. I like Brian Tracy. I think he talks about some awesome things, and he's motivational. But at the same time, Brian Tracy, sometimes I feel like he puts unreasonable expectations on his readers. So there's that, you know, and that kind of ties into with what I was talking about, chasing perfection, knowing that you're not going to attain perfection. So this 21-day mental diet, for instance, before you turn the television on, radio, or read the newspaper, take 30 to 60 minutes and read something motivational, inspirational, educational. Starting tomorrow, arise each morning at least 2 hours before you have somewhere to be. That sounds awesome. Is it practical? It's not always going to be practical, is it? I mean, you're not always going to be able to do that. You know, it's not always practical. But we're chasing perfection, right? We're chasing perfection relentlessly, right? So I think when you're reading people like Brian Tracy, you know, don't get frustrated when he gives you direction, because he does. He'll give you specific direction. And now this 21-day mental diet, it's specific direction. Now don't get frustrated when you don't achieve it. The important thing is that you're taking action. You're trying to achieve it. If you mess up one day, you don't wake up 2 hours in advance, or something happened and you have to be somewhere, you don't get to do this, you don't get to do that. It kind of comes back to what Vince Lombardi said. Gentlemen, we will chase perfection, and we will chase it relentlessly, knowing all the while we can never attain it, but all along the way we shall catch excellence. Now, as long as you don't give up, you will catch excellence, okay? Okay, so there's that. Now, I want to talk about this idea. You know, back when I was in high school, I wrote this quote for the yearbook. It was kind of profound because I barely knew what that word meant at the time. But I wrote, you know, the quest for efficacy continues. The quest for efficacy continues. I wrote that in the yearbook in high school, and they published it, and the quest for efficacy continues. And, you know, it's funny. What is efficacy? What does that mean? You know, what was I talking about back in high school? You know, because it wasn't until years later that I actually really followed through on that, and tried to be what I wanted to be and be who I wanted to be, and do what made me happy in life. It took a long time before I actually started trying to do what made me happy in life. But efficacy is the ability to produce a desired or intended result. The ability to produce a desired or intended result. Okay? How good are you at making happen what you want to happen? How good are you at it? That's efficacy. Okay? Now, I want to give you a list of people that I looked up I thought were kind of interesting. These are some examples for you. Walt Disney, and everybody knows about Walt Disney, okay? You know, Disney was fired from the Kansas City Star in 1919 because his editor said he lacked imagination and had no good ideas. He lacked imagination and had no good ideas. He was fired. We all know what Walt Disney went on to do. It's an example of someone who's failed, okay, but didn't give up and continued, right? We will chase perfection, and we will chase it relentlessly, knowing all the while we can never attain it, but along the way we shall catch excellence. Walt Disney caught excellence because he chased perfection. He did not give up. He did not give up. He had a vision in his mind of what he wanted to do, and he didn't let this boss of his, he didn't let his editor, you know, he didn't let him deter him from achieving that goal. You know, it's hard when people put you down. You know, when you're trying to be independent and you're trying to make money for yourself and you say, hey, I want to work for myself, you're going to have people all around you who doubt you. All around you, they're going to doubt you. you know, and they're going to tell you just need to go back to work, you need to get a job. And they're going to doubt you until you start making real money. And even then, they're going to doubt you. And then once you start making real money, they're going to think you got some kind of special trick. Some kind of special trick you got to where there's no way they could do it. You got some kind of magic mojo that lets you do it to where they could never do it. You're just really smart. That's how you're able to do that. But until you get successful, until you start making good money on your own, they will doubt you, and they will judge you, and they will put you down. So keep that in mind. Walt Disney was no different. Michael Bloomberg. You might not be familiar with him. He's a very rich man, a very successful man. Bloomberg was let go when he was working as a partner with Salomon Brothers, an investment bank. Specifically, it was after the company was bought out by the company that eventually became Citigroup in 1998. His severance check is what he used to jumpstart his career, which has now led him to become the 18th richest person in the world. So Michael Bloomberg is very successful. He's very rich, but he was let go. He was let go. He was let go. You know, he's fired. He was terminated. Now, I don't know how many of you guys have ever been fired or terminated, but I have, and it will play with your mind. It'll play with your emotions. It'll play with your mind. It'll make you feel like it'll be a blow to your confidence. But you know, Bloomberg didn't let that deter him. You know, he used the severance package, and he went on to become very, very successful and make a lot of money. So, you know, there you go. He wasn't perfect. He was let go by one company. They didn't see value in him, or they wouldn't have let him go, right? He will chase perfection relentlessly, knowing all the while we can never attain it. But along the way we shall catch excellence. Bloomberg caught excellence. He wasn't deterred by his perceived failure. Okay, Elvis Presley, right? After a performance at Nashville's Grand Ole Opry, Elvis was told by the concert hall manager that he was better off returning to Memphis and driving trucks. Because that's what he did. That was his former career. He drove trucks. But he was told by the concert hall manager he was better off returning to Memphis and driving trucks. And he was basically told he sucked. You know, he sucked. We all know what Elvis went on to be. The king of rock and roll. So, there you go. He didn't let that deter him. This is my favorite one, okay? This is my favorite one, and it sounds stupid, but it almost brought me to tears, man. My eyes started watering. So listen, Thomas Edison, right? He worked at Western Union when he used to secretly conduct experiments. Then one night in 1867, he spilled some acid, and it ate through the entire floor. He was fired, and subsequently decided to just pursue inventing full-time. So that was where Thomas Edison decided, you know what, I'm going to do my own thing. He was fired from his job. He decided, you know what, I'm going to make independent money. I'm going to work for myself. I can do this. I'm going to invent. This is what I love to do. This is what I'm going to make money at. Okay? Now, when Thomas Edison was interviewed by a young reporter who boldly asked Mr. Edison if he felt like a failure and if he thought he should just give up by now, you know, perplexed, Edison replied, "Young man, why would I feel like a failure, and why would I ever give up? I know definitely over 9,000 ways that an electric light bulb will not work. Success is almost in my grasp." And shortly after that, in over 10,000 attempts, Edison invented the light bulb. Man, the first time I read that, I got tears in my eyes, because this part where he says success is almost in my grasp, I have personally said that to members in my family before. You know, before I started making money, independent dollars, real independent dollars, you know, I have said this. Success is almost in my grasp. I can feel it. I just have this wall that I have to break through. Because see, I had many failures, and I haven't told you guys about my failures, but Google Sniper, in my eyes, it was a failure. I paid money for this course. I couldn't figure out how to get it to make money for me without changing it drastically. Work from no home was a failure for me. I could go on and on with different little things I've tried that failed. I was making money off of Amazon, Amazon.com with physical product, but once I started trying to see, here's what you guys got to understand: it's easy to make money off a physical product on Amazon. It's not very difficult. You kind of learn a method. You read, you study, and you learn a method. It's harder. It's harder to break into some of these other fields like digital product, and information products and stuff. It's harder. And even with Amazon physical product, you have to kind of get a system down to where you can make full-time income doing that. You can't, it's very easy to make a little bit of money online. It's harder to make a lot of money online. So that's the thing, and I remember feeling like, success is almost in my grasp, it's almost in my grasp, and people doubt you. But reading that quote, it was just like, he asked Mr. Edison if he felt like a failure and if he thought he should just give up by now. Because I've had those thoughts in my head. Should I just give up? Should I just go back? Guys, I'll tell you, man, I personally have turned down a $21 an hour job to do what I want to do. I've turned down an $18 an hour job to do what I want to do. And it wasn't like easy. It wasn't easy because I knew that I could go back to work and make 18 bucks an hour, go back to work and make 21 bucks an hour, and it'd be good. My family would be taken care of, and but the thing about it is I'd be working my butt to the bone. I'd be working, 40 hours a week, 40 plus hours a week, and I'd be driving, and it's not my vision. And in the end, I said, and I always kind of pray a little bit. I know some of you guys might not be religious, some of you might. I always try to ask God, what should I do, man? Listen, what should I do? And I don't know if he answered me or not, but my resolve was, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna make my money doing this. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to do. And I was resolved to follow my vision. And that's just the way it is. Right, wrong, undecided. I made a decision and I executed. I let the $18 an hour job go. I let $21 an hour job go because I wanted to make money on my own terms. I want to be 100% independent. And just now, in this last year, I'm achieving that. But it's been a long road. So Thomas Edison, man, my favorite. Why? Perplexed, Edison replied, "Young man, why would I feel like a failure? And why would I ever give up? I now know definitely over 9,000 ways that an electric light bulb will not work. Success is almost in my grasp." And shortly after that, over 10,000 tips, Edison invented the light bulb. And that's amazing because that's just like that book by Malcolm Gladwell, Outliers. If you look at my recommended reading, you'll see a book called Outliers. I recommended you guys all go check that book out. It's called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. And he talks about this in his book time and time again. No, wrong book. Sorry guys. I've read so many damn books. Sorry. It wasn't Malcolm Gladwell. It was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. If you read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and I recommend you do, and that's a public domain book, you don't have to pay for that. You can go get that for free. If I remember, I'll put a link to it in the description. But that's in my recommended reading section as well. But if you read that book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, he talks to a lot of people who have been successful, and he notes in his book that many times the person who's successful, there's always a breaking point. There's a point where they're at their most lowest, and they've done it and done it and done it and done it, and then they kind of just break through. And then once they break through, everything just starts to steamroll. But it's not like something that gradually happens. It's like you go and you go and you go and you go, and it's hard and it's hard and it's hard and it's hard, and then boom, you break through. And that's kind of how he explains the cycle of success, so to speak. There's a breakthrough. It's not just a slow, tiny, gradual climb. There's generally like a pinnacle, like a defining moment where you break through, and it goes right with what Thomas Edison says here. He He knew 9,000 ways that the electric light bulb will not work. Success was almost in my grasp, and shortly after that, 10,000 attempts, Edison invented the light bulb. He succeeded. He didn't give up. But like that mentality, can you imagine trying something 9,000 times and reporters telling you you're a failure? You look like a failure. Everyone believes you're an idiot, right? But he had that mentality that success was almost in his grasp. You know, he knows 9,000 ways it's not going to work. There's a couple things that you could use from that, okay? There's a couple things you could use from that as entrepreneurs out there, right? That's a mentality, right? That's a mentality. That's a mindset. Knowing something's not going to work, okay? Knowing something's not going to work. I know 9,000 ways it's not going to work. And I'll use that information. He's using the information of his failures. He's using that. He's using that to move on and to use it to succeed. So, like that's interesting. You know, that's a mindset that he's got this mindset that every failure I'm learning something. I'm learning what doesn't work, and he used it to build on it, and finally he succeeded. I think that's really, really interesting. How do you get that mindset? How do you get that mindset? You know, well, I think decidedly that's a positive mindset. You know, and that kind of goes back to Brian Tracy's 21-day mental diet, okay? You have to start looking at things in a positive light. You have to start seeing things in a positive way. You have to start seeing everything, you know, I'm not going to say a glass is half full, but I'm going to say, like, I found you can usually pull a positive out of every situation. And when you do that, you don't cloud your mind with the negative, okay? Because if you focus on the negative things that are happening, it makes it really hard to concentrate on what you want to do and how you can use your current situation to get there. Because you're so busy focusing on what didn't happen, or how you wish this would have happened but it didn't, or what you can't have, or what you don't have. You're so busy focusing on that, you know, it tends to put you in the past, and it tends to cloud your judgment. And it makes it really, really hard to overcome your obstacles. Things that could normally be overcome a little bit easier if you just focused on positive elements of what's happening. So, Thomas Edison's my freaking hero, man. So, but anyways, that's pretty amazing. So, okay, take all that, move it to the side. That's a lot. So back to the quest for efficacy, right? The quest for efficacy, the ability to produce a desired result, the ability to produce a desired or intended result. You know, we quest for that. We quest for that. Now, think about this, right? I want you to think about this. Mindset. Mindset is the ideas and attitudes with which a person approaches a situation, especially when the situation is seen as being difficult to alter. Your mindset, right? Think about Thomas Edison's mindset, you know. Over 9,000 times he failed. Everyone called him a failure. They were laughing at him. But he had this mindset, right? He had this mindset, this way that he approached the situation that was conducive to him succeeding, and eventually he succeeded, right? Now, like, I'm making a full-time income, you know, on my own, right? I'm making enough money on my own to support myself and my family, right? And then when you achieve that, when you get to that point, now I'm not rich, don't get me wrong. You know, some people say, oh, well, if you're so rich, how come you're not wearing nicer clothes? Or if you're so, hey, look, I'm not rich. I'm not rich. I don't want anyone out there, you know, to think I'm rich. I'm not. But I'm making enough money to survive with my family on my own. That's what I'm saying. Now, it's funny, like, I'll give people ideas, you know, and they'll give me crazy things back in return. Like I'll give them an idea to do something. I'll say, well, how much time do you think you got to dedicate to this thing, and see if you can make it work? Well, I can't give it really any time. And they'll say, well, I can't give it any time unless it starts working. I can give it like maybe 10 hours a week. I'll dedicate like 10 hours a week to making ebooks, or doing this or doing that. I'll dedicate 10 hours a week to learning how to do affiliate marketing. Unless it starts working, then I can give it like 50 hours a week. I can give it like 50 hours a week. Now I can tell you, like, I've been guilty of this. I've been guilty of this, all right? The idea that, like, I'm gonna give it a little bit of time, and then if it works, I'm gonna give it a little bit more time. If it makes me money, I'm gonna give it a little bit more time. I've been guilty of that, you know. I can tell you one thing, that's an employee mindset. It's an employee mindset. It's the mindset that when I go to work, I want to get paid, and that's it. I want to put in 40 hours and I want to get 40 hours of pay. That's it. You know, that's an employee mindset. That's the mindset that someone's going to have when they're used to going to work, punching in and punching out. Thomas Edison wasn't getting paid by the hour for those 9,000 attempts when he failed at the electric light bulb. It was a labor of love. He loved to invent, but he wasn't being paid, you know. So I think it's important, you know, that you need to get out of that employee mindset when you're trying to succeed at something. Man, I can tell you, like, you know, I developed a few different products, you know, and I actually just finished up work on another product. It's going to help people achieve success on YouTube, actually, and that's going to be out pretty soon, probably in the next couple weeks. I'll try to give you guys an opportunity to pick that up if you want. But I can tell you, I had to put a lot of work into that. I had to put a lot of work to get it together, to make it happen, figure out what kind of affiliate gate I wanted to use, just a lot of different little things I had to put into it. And like, I didn't get paid for that. It's kind of front end work. You know, you get paid after it's done and after you put it out there, and then you hope people like it, you hope it helps people, and you hope you make money off of it. That's kind of how it works. That's not an employee mindset, though. That's an entrepreneurial mindset. So I think that it's important, you know, even if you guys are out there working, it's important that when you start working on these projects, when you start working on these goals, that you take off your employee mindset hat, right? Remember, I mean, the more you put into something, and this is what I found to be true, the more time you put into something, like, the more you're probably going to get out of it. You know, the more time you dedicate to it, the more you're going to learn about it. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, man. I've had many sleepless nights trying to learn about, you know, online marketing, and trying to learn about copy, and trying to learn about how to do affiliate marketing, and how to, you know, make digital products, and, you know, public domain, and this and that and the other. I've spent many sleepless nights staying up while my family slept, trying to learn this stuff. And the reason I did that was because I had a vision and I believed in myself. And I don't think, and that wasn't an employee mindset. You know, that's not an employee mindset. The employee mindset is, let me just go to bed on time, and let me get up and I'll put a couple hours in. I want to get out what I'm putting in. You know, I want to get paid for what I'm doing. If I put in, you know, 2 weeks, 40 hours a week, that's 80 hours I put into this product, I expect to get paid this much, you know. And then, like, the employee mindset will be like, well, if that product only made me, you know, $1,000, I mean, that sucks. I mean, I could have made that just going to work. But there's more going on there. You know, you didn't just make $1,000, you gained an education. You didn't just make $1,000, you gained an education. You should have been paying attention to figure out what worked, what didn't work with that project. How could you make it work better? How could you turn that 1,000 into 10,000 or 5,000? That's kind of what's going on there. And I think that's kind of the difference between success and failure. So I definitely encourage you all to get out of that employee mindset when you're trying to, whether it be you're trying to sell product on Amazon, digital, physical, whether you're trying to create a website, you know, whether you're trying to do this, whether you're trying to do that. I mean, I definitely suggest you start thinking like an entrepreneur and less like an employee. Because if you think like an employee, you're going to end up being an employee. You're going to end up, you know, that's why I kind of started moving away from physical product a little bit. It was too much like being an employee. I was my own employee. I mean, that was hard work, you know, moving all that product around all the time. You know, it's a lot of work, you know. You're basically an employee working for yourself. It's no fun bossing yourself around. I'd rather just be the boss and not have to work so hard. So I think physical products a great way to get into, online sales and e-commerce and stuff. And don't get me wrong, man. There's a lot of people out there who make great money off a physical product. Don't get me wrong. I mean, and if you like physical product, if you like going out there to garage sales and you like, picking and stuff like that, then that's great. I like doing that myself. But I don't like doing it. I don't like picking and stuff like that to the point where, like, that's going to make me 6 figures a year. You know what I'm saying? Because you can make a full-time income, off of picking and off of garage sailing and stuff like that. Craigslist finds, but to turn that into 6 figures a year, I mean, you gotta bust your butt, man. You gotta bust your butt. I'm not kidding around. Now you can do importing. You can import product. Now that's a different story. That's not nearly as hard. But, and I told people this in my members area. If you want to learn more about this importing and stuff like that, check out adventuresontheriver.com. But back to what we're talking about, I told people in my members area, look, you got to be careful when you're importing. Okay, you got to do a little bit of homework because there's more of a potential to lose money. It's not like going out to garage sales and spending $1 on something and, crap, man, I can't sell this. This isn't worth any money. No, now you're spending $1,000 on something, and if it busts, I mean, you're out like $1,000. So you gotta be careful. You gotta make sure what you're getting sells. You gotta make sure it sells. You gotta make sure you're getting your samples. You gotta make sure all that stuff's in line. I mean, there's higher potential to lose money, so you gotta make sure you're doing your homework on importing. I'm getting a little off topic here. I can tell you, I do a lot of different things to make money online, but I can tell you my favorite thing is information product. Information product's my favorite thing to do. I love creating things, So anyways, that's just me. You have to find what you love to do, and then you have to pursue it. Pursue it, man. Pursue it. Don't get caught up with your mental obstacles, Quest for efficacy. The ability to produce a desired result. All right. Can you do it? Can you set a goal in your mind and make it happen? Can you produce a desired result? Can you create something and say, listen, I want to make at least $1,000 off of this. That's all there is to it. Can you make it happen? Can you buy like 500 books off of Craigslist and say, hey, look, I'm going to get my money back out of this. I paid $50 for these books. Paid $50 for 500 books. Not stop until I make 500 off of this. Can you do it? The ability to produce a desired or intended result. You can do it. That's the key, You can do it. The question is, can you get yourself to believe you can do it? That's the question. Can you believe you can do it like you believe when you go outside and get in your car to go to work, your car is going to start? You believe that. You assume it. You take it for granted. When you get in your car, it's going to start. I mean, what if you could believe that you were going to succeed at what you're doing, at your entrepreneurial venture? What if you believe that like you believed your car was going to start in the morning? Do you realize what you'd be capable of if you believed it that way? So, I mean, you have to believe it. You have to believe it. You have to believe it, and you have to also not be afraid to fail. Believe you can succeed, and have that mindset to use your failure as a tool and as a ladder to success. You build on those failures. You build on them. They're ladders to your success. And it all comes back to Vince Lombardi. Gentlemen, we will chase perfection, and we will chase it relentlessly, knowing all the while we can never attain it. But along the way, we shall catch excellence. You guys can catch excellence. Don't give up. Take some action and learn from your failures. That's all I got for you. If you get a chance, check out adventuresontheriver.com. That's my website. We talk a lot about how to make money off of Amazon on that website. Coming up around the corner, going to be having a special YouTube geared project. That's a little YouTube geared product. It's going to teach people how to make money off of YouTube. So anyways, I'll catch up with you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.